I never thought I'd end up in a courtroom over land I already owned. To be honest, I didn't even realize what was happening at first. It all started years ago, when I inherited a piece of property from my grandfather, about 40 acres of land just outside the city limits. He'd bought it decades ago when the area was just farmland, saying, "They'll build around us one day, and when they do, this land will be worth gold." I didn't think much of it. Life went on. I moved into town, started a small business, and mostly forgot about that stretch of dirt and trees. But one morning, I drove out there just to check on it. I hadn't been in a while, and I wanted to see how the area had changed. What I found left me speechless. My old dirt road was gone, replaced by a brand new asphalt street lined with streetlights. Heavy trucks were moving back and forth, workers were hammering, pouring concrete, running power lines. And then I saw them. Rows of houses, shiny new construction, maybe a dozen already framed up and dozens more marked off with stakes and flags. I thought maybe I'd taken a wrong turn, so I checked the GPS on my truck. Nope. This was definitely my property. My name was still on the deed, same as it had been for 20 years. I got out and walked up to one of the foremen. He was standing by a trailer, yelling orders into a walkie-talkie. When I asked him who was in charge, he gave me a confused look and said, "This is part of Oakwood Estates, talk to the WA or the developer." The WA. My jaw dropped. How could there be a homeowners association on my land? I didn't sell it. I didn't sign anything. I didn't even know these people existed. That was the start of a long, messy journey that taught me more about property law, patience, and revenge than I ever wanted to know. I started by calling the county records office. They confirmed exactly what I already knew. My grandfather's land had never been sold or transferred. The title was clean. My name was on the deed, registered and recorded. But when I asked about the Oakwood Estates development, the clerk told me that a local developer had filed a plan for construction about 3 years ago. Apparently, they had included my land in their plans by mistake. A mistake. Except it wasn't just a small error. They had already poured foundations, built roads, installed utilities, and were halfway through building nearly 100 homes. 96, to be exact. I tried reaching out to the developer. Weeks went by. No one returned my calls. When I finally got through to someone, they acted like I was crazy. "Our records show that land was part of the acquisition package," the man on the phone told me. I asked for documentation, and after a pause, he admitted they didn't actually have a deed transfer for my specific parcel, just a boundary extension that the previous owner approved. But there was no previous owner. It had been in my family since the 1960s. That's when I realized what had happened. Somewhere along the line, the developer or one of their surveyors had assumed the land was unclaimed or had been included in a nearby sale. They started building, and no one ever checked the records closely enough to notice. They didn't think anyone would care. So I let them build. It sounds crazy, I know. Most people would have called the police or filed a lawsuit immediately. But I wanted to see just how deep this mistake went. If they were going to play games on my land, I'd let them play right to the end. Over the next year, I drove by every few months. More houses went up. Streets were named. People started moving in. It looked like any other quiet suburban neighborhood. Kids playing in yards, mailboxes lined up neatly, a big wooden sign at the entrance that read, "Welcome to Oakwood Estates." And all of it was sitting on my property. By the time the last house was finished, I hired a real estate attorney. I showed him every document I had. The deed, the tax records, even the pictures I'd taken. He couldn't believe it either. "If this is accurate," he said, "you technically own every square foot under those homes." We double-checked the county maps. Sure enough, the entire subdivision was inside my parcel lines. I hadn't lost ownership. They had just built right on top of it. That's when we made our move. The attorney filed a formal claim of ownership and an injunction against the developer and the WA for illegal occupation of private property. The WA tried to fight it, claiming that the land was properly sold and that I had no right to disrupt the community. They even accused me of trying to extort the homeowners. But when we went to court, the judge asked one simple question: "Can you show me the deed transferring ownership from Mr. Jenkins to your company?" They couldn't. Because it didn't exist. The courtroom went dead silent. The developer's lawyer tried to argue that good faith development should protect them from losing the investment. The judge didn't buy it. You built 96 homes on land you didn't own, he said. That's not good faith. That's negligence. From there, everything unraveled for them. The judge ruled that I was, in fact, the rightful owner of the property. Every square inch of Oakwood Estates legally belonged to me. The HOA was stunned. The homeowners were furious. Some even came to my house, begging me not to evict them. I told them I wasn't out to hurt anyone, but someone had to take responsibility for what had happened. The court gave me several options. I could demand the land back and force everyone off it. I could negotiate a settlement where the developer or the WA bought the land from me at fair market value. Or I could lease it back to them. I thought about what my grandfather would have done. He'd always said, "Don't let anyone take what's yours, but don't let pride make you blind either." So instead of tearing everything down or forcing families out, I decided to let them stay, but on my terms. We drafted a deal. The developer had to pay me for every square foot of land they'd built on, plus damages for unauthorized use. It came out to several $1,000,000. On top of that, the WA now pays me an annual land lease, basically rent, for the entire subdivision. Every homeowner owns their house, but they lease the ground beneath it from me. It's unusual, but perfectly legal. When the ruling came down, the media picked up the story. Man lets developer build 96 homes, then takes back the land in court. People online called it the ultimate revenge story. Some said I was a genius, others said I was a villain. But the truth is, I didn't plan it this way. I just wanted what was rightfully mine. The best part: the developer went bankrupt trying to pay the settlement. Turns out they had borrowed heavily from investors to finish Oakwood Estates. When the judgment hit, their lenders pulled out. The CEO resigned, and the company folded within months. Meanwhile, the WA had to rewrite all their contracts and acknowledge me as the landowner. They weren't happy about it, but they had no choice. I even get invited to their annual meetings now, though I don't go. I'm more than happy just watching the checks come in every year. People always ask if I feel guilty about it, about the families who bought homes there without knowing. And honestly, I do feel bad for them. They didn't do anything wrong. They trusted the developer and the system that was supposed to protect them. That's why I didn't kick them out. I could have taken the nuclear option, but I didn't. I just made sure the people responsible paid for their mistakes. What's funny is, a few of those homeowners have since thanked me. Once they learned the full story, they said they were glad someone held the developer accountable. One guy even told me, "It's kind of cool living on the land that beat the system." And maybe that's what this story really is, not revenge, but justice. A reminder that paperwork matters, that property law isn't a game, and that no amount of corporate muscle can erase a signed deed. I still drive by Oakwood Estates sometimes. The trees my grandfather planted along the ridge are still there. Kids play in yards. The mail trucks roll by. To everyone else, it's just another quiet neighborhood. But I know what it really is: a monument to patience, persistence, and one very expensive mistake. If there's one lesson I took from all this, it's that people assume ownership is about who holds the keys. It's not. Ownership is about documentation, history, and the law. The paper in the courthouse, not the concrete on the ground, decides who truly owns something. So when the judge looked at me that day in court and said, "Mr. Jenkins, this land is yours," it wasn't just a legal victory. It was a full circle moment. For me, for my grandfather, for everyone who ever got bulldozed by people who thought they could take what they wanted. They built an entire neighborhood on my land. And in the end, they built my fortune with it. And that, my friends, is why you always check the deed.